million people in many organizations and groups, and they have their own structure, and the government recognizes and interferes with these organizations. Sufism continues its vitality and appeals to many who are educated as well as to the uneducated. So, in Moulids or in festivals, you can see the influence of Sufism and their practices. There are also many official Muslim organizations in Egypt. Al-Azhar, as I mentioned, the mosque and the university, and Sheikh Al-Azhar is equal the prime minister in the protocol in the government. The Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs also has upper hand in many Islamic organizations in Egypt. And then the House of Iftah, and this is the place where people they ask their questions and have fatwas from this place. So these are the three main institutions in the Islamic spectrum. Also among Muslim scholars, there is a wide spectrum of perspectives concerning the application of Sharia law. Like here we have the liberal scholars. And liberal scholars are they have a loud voice in Western media. And you can hear about them and their influence. But the influence in Egypt is very limited compared with that of the fundamentalists and conservatives, or even moderate scholars. Muslims in Egypt tend to retain their traditional ways of thinking, and it is very hard for them to accept new ideas that would moderate or alter what they have learned from ancient scholars. Traditional views and practices dominate both the Islamic academic and public speech, and Al-Azhar plays a major role in that. Today, most Muslims believe that a Muslim society must be based on Sharia law. Political entities are compelled to adopt religious language in order to regain moral influence over society and to secure their political legitimacy in the eyes of the public. There is a very important and very influential group, and you know it, the Muslim Brothers, or Ikhwan al-Muslimin. They are a major player in the political and social and religious life in Egypt. They were established by Hassan al-Banna back in 1928. And their influence on public, on the public increased through the years, and their ideologies in life, state and society, which came mostly from the teachings of Sayyid Qutb. Although they opposed the teaching of changing society by force, the Egyptian government openly accused them of being enemies of the state. Regular arrested for the leaders of this movement took place in recent years. If we talk about the current situation of Christians in Egypt. Egypt is a country of about 80 million people. However, it's hard to find exact numbers of many aspects of social, economic, or religious life. The number of Christians in Egypt is particularly difficult to determine. And according to different statistics, we came to the conclusion that the number of Christians in Egypt is about 8 million. And the Coptic Orthodox Church represents 90% of the Christian population. The other 10% is between the other churches, especially the Evangelical or the Presbyterian Church, which is the second largest in church membership and the number of churches. There are about 3,000 church buildings in Egypt, for all denominations, while the number of Christians is about 8 million, which raises a very important question about the need to have more church buildings. This leads us to the problems that face Egyptian Christians today in Egypt. First thing is that discrimination and marginalization. Since the Arab conquest, issues of discrimination and marginalization have been matters of contention between Christians and Muslims in Egypt. Today, Egyptian Christians complain that the Egyptian government applies discriminatory religious laws and practices concerning conversion, marriage, parenthood, and education. They further contend that the government has effectively restricted Christians from senior government, political, military, or educational positions. There is also a problem in church building permits. A long story about the history of that, but nowadays it's close to impossible to have a permit to build a church. The situation became a little bit easier in the last few years, but still it's a very hard problem. And I myself involved in a committee in Cairo Presbytery trying to reach out in new areas, and this is the problem we are facing. We cannot build a church, so we have to find a way to find or to plan a church. Also, Christians they find hard in representation in government and parliament. The government, there is only 2 ministers out of 34. And in the parliament, there are only now two members of the parliament who were Christians, who were elected, and 5 others, they were appointed by the president. He has the right to appoint 10 members, and all the time he appoints 5 Christians. And there are also many positions in the government occupied only by Muslims: the president, prime minister, assistant prime minister, minister of defense, heads of the various branches of the Egyptian armed forces, chairman of the People's Assembly, governors. There is only one Egyptian or Christian governor out of 28, as well as the heads of all government service offices, chiefs of police, and so on. But another problem Christians are facing is violence against Christians. And these are the things which come out in the media a lot. As an example, in 1995, more than 182 violent events happened between Muslims and Christians, and Christians were the victims all the time. And there are stories about what happened in 1999 and recently the Christmas Eve of last year in a city in southern Egypt called Nag Hammadi. You know Nag Hammadi from the Gnostic, but Nag Hammadi has another name now in the media. Let me talk about Egyptian Christian approaches to Muslims. I put them into 2 categories: natural approaches, which include isolation, when Christians choose to isolate themselves from the society and they live very close to the churches, and the churches in general are centered on social activities such as trips,